Hello, welcome back to my channel. So I just completed my MMI, which if you don't know, that's the mixed mini interviews. It's very different from the standard interviewing process where like you show up and you have like one or two interviewers, like you meet with one person. Also, this is virtual because you know the yeah, it's virtual since we don't want to have people spreading everything all around. So it was on a computer, and all the interviews I've done in the past have been like you sit down and then you have like a Zoom call, and then your interviewer comes in and then they sit down and they say, "Hello, Faith, my name is blah blah blah," and then they ask you questions and then you answer the questions, and then they ask you questions, you answer them, and then like a lot of the places have been like a conversation, which was really good because it makes you less nervous. Some people make it super scary because they just ask you questions and it's like, I don't know, they make you a little uneasy. But the MMI is very different because when you do an MMI, it's like you get, this one was 7-minute interviews. So you come in and you read the scenario and you meet with the first person and they ask you to answer the scenario, and they're not like supposed to respond in any way or anything like that. And then once you're done, they can ask you questions or they cannot, and then you like, normally you would like leave the room and then go back to the waiting room, I think, if you do it in real life. But since we're doing it via Zoom now, they like, you finish asking questions and then you just shut up for your camera and shut off the interview. I liked the MMI because they just propose like questions and then you answer them, and then like it's like simple because it's less awkward because you have something you're definitely supposed to talk about and you're not like waiting on like scary questions. So sometimes they ask about medical ethics, they ask you about like your interests and stuff like that, or like ethical scenarios, what you think you should do in a certain scenario. Like I've seen some on the internet where like they ask you like, oh, you have two patients come in, they both need a transplant. One person needs a transplant because they're old and they're not a medical, they're like a college professor or someone that contributes to the community. And then the second one is like, oh, the second person is a drug abuser and they need the transplant because they messed up their organs from drugs. And you're supposed to sit there and be like, okay, so like what I see so far is I would need to treat, oh, they ask you who would you give the organ to and why. So like normal people would be like, okay, well, like it's an issue because one person's old, so the organ might not last long in their body, or they might die soon, or they might reject. And then the other person is a drug abuser, so like it might not last because of that. So like you're supposed to think with a level head, not make assumptions. Like sometimes they'll put in words like it seems like they abuse drugs and stuff like that, and you're supposed to be able to think with a level head, because as a physician you're not supposed to just like jump and do things. You're supposed to come to a conclusion based on the information that you're given. So like a good response would be like, I would make this decision based off of who is the best candidate for the organ. So like on the one hand you have this person, on the other hand you have this person. You weigh the options, and it's best to think out loud so that they can hear you, so they know that like there's actually a process going, instead of being like, I would give it to the person who's older and not a drug abuser. Like you can't just make decisions like that because it's people's lives. All right, so like for this one it was seven interviews for 7 minutes long. So what they would do is like, I'm in like a waiting room, and I read the prompt and then I go in with the person. And my strategy was, I know for a fact that I don't like to talk a lot. You might be surprised because I have a YouTube channel and I blah 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 all day, but I don't like to talk a lot. I don't like to over talk to people, like tell people what more than what they need to hear. I guess that's my strategy in person. On YouTube it's different because you can skip around, you can choose what you want, but I never want to over explain or like beat a dead horse or like bore people. So I usually don't talk enough. So I had to come up with a very specific strategy where I was explaining myself, but I didn't feel uncomfortable like I was boring this person. So I would say hello. It's always polite to introduce yourself because you don't just like jump in a room and be like, I would do this because blah, blah, blah. Like, don't be weird. So I would go in, the room would open up. I just read the thing. I would take a deep breath right before. And then the room would open and I'd say, hello, how are you? They'd say, I'm good, how are you? My name is blah, blah, blah. I am blah, blah, blah here at this school. And have you had a chance to read the MMI scenario? I'd say yes. And then my first thing I would do is I would summarize. I'd be like, all right, so from what I read, this is what's happening in the scenario. And then I would address the question. So like now I'm like on the first question, it says, what are issues you see? So then I would identify the issues, making sure that I'm taking into account both perspectives, if it's like a two-party situation, or like making sure I was thorough in identifying issues, not only from the one that was very obvious and apparent, but also regarding, the party that might, have an issue with something and can't, like, their problem isn't very apparent. So I try to take into all factors. Which, fun fact, I'm a standard overthinker, and people are like, Faith, why do you take so long to make decisions? But this actually helps me on standardized tests or like scenarios like this, because overthinking, I wouldn't even call it overthinking. Taking everything into account is actually useful. It's not so useful when I am like in a grocery store and I'm like reading two products that look the exact same. So that was an aside. But yeah, the first thing you do is you weigh out all the options. Try to see it from everyone's perspective, not just the one that's very obvious. Next, you would be, it'd be like, oh, if you were this person, how would you respond? So in that case, you need to think as though you're like the most logical person on earth. And you'd say, if I was this person, I would, it's always good to show that you can communicate, because these are skills you need as a doctor. So think about every skill you would need as a doctor, or like whatever your MMI. I don't know if it's for med school or something else, but like think about all the skills you would need and see how you can demonstrate that in your response. So I would say, hey, if I was Susie, I would make sure that this person understood that they offended me or they blah, 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 because it's something they might not have taken into account. But I would also try to figure out what was the reason they did what they did. Or you can like just ask them directly. I would say, if I was this person, I would ask them how come they did this. And they, like, depending on what their response, I would say, okay, I understand that you felt this way and this was why you did it, but it also impacted me because, X, Y, and Z. Like, take a girl into account. So yeah, that was, so it goes on and on like that. So I found that, you kill some time by reading the scenario, and then like obviously you already thought about it, but like if you're reading the scenario and you say, I this stuck out to me, and then answer question 1, answer question 2, then I would have like still like 2 minutes with the person, and they'd either be like, well, it seems like you answered everything, so you can turn your mic off, or they would say, they would ask me a question like, okay, what if it was determined that this was the only option? And then you have to readjust your original explanation, to take into account this new information. But overall, I found that the MMI is a lot better than the other interviewing style. Like, don't get me wrong, the people I have interviewed with have been really nice and really kind and easy to talk to. But I found that MMI is like every new scenario is a new opportunity. It's a new person, it's a new scenario. So even if you messed up the one before, like, which I didn't, but even if you messed up the one before, you have time to like reset and, recalibrate, like, okay, like maybe I didn't answer that the best, but this is a whole new situation and I can do my best at this. And you have 7 chances, or however many chances the school gives you, to get it right. So let's say you mess up on one, don't let that one affect you. Just keep going, because you have 6 more that you can do excellent on. And it's like the law of averages. If they ask you for an interview, they already like you. So all you got to do is show that you're not going to like destroy their hospital, be evil to the patients and all that stuff. Just show that, you're someone who's level-headed, calm, and like you can do this. That's it. It ain't that hard. Side note, If you're doing it via Zoom or you're at home, like I would definitely wear pants, but like I had to put a blanket on me because it was cold. Yes, this is from United Airlines. They gave it to me for free because, you know, I'm special. No, because they weren't recycling them, I guess, because but yeah, so I would also, so in addition, I would recommend a nice like comfy chair. I would recommend a ring light, which is what I have over there. That's why I did my YouTube videos, because I'm already dressed up. I already got my ring light on, but like it helps them see you better. Or if you don't have a ring light, because not everyone has a ring light, you could have like a window and you could put it right in front of the window, and that way the light from the window is coming towards you. So I would like place my chair right there if I didn't have a ring light, and then, you know, get that good lighting, especially if you're melanated. So yeah, also have a bottle of water because you're going to be talking for like 45 minutes. Okay. Have a bottle of water because you're going to be talking for a while and sometimes your mouth might get dry. So just have your water right there just in case. You're not allowed to take notes during the MMI. So probably don't try. Close all the apps, silence your phone, like just focus and be in the zone. It really wasn't bad at all. I kind of wish all the schools did that. And there are like practice scenarios that you can do online, but each school is different. Like I did a few practice scenarios and they didn't ask me none of that. Like they didn't ask me anything crazy, anything like super medical ethics, and which was like I was nervous about because, I mean, not nervous about, but it was just like, oh, I hope I do well. But it was like pretty straightforward, like situations you would experience as a student more so than as a doctor, because like obviously I don't know because I'm not a doctor yet. But yeah, what else? Wear fuzzy socks. Ugh, sorry. Wear fuzzy socks because your toes get cold. I don't know. I got bad circulation, so my toes get cold during this stuff. But yeah, that was an MMI. So overall, let's review. An MMI is different from a standard interview in that you have multiple interviewers and you have multiple scenarios that you have to answer. Each situation is a new chance to get it right. Make sure you breathe and you relax before starting the next interview. Read the prompt carefully. Start with re-explaining the prompt to the person and reading the questions, and try to be thorough, try to be considerate, try to, you know, make the most out of your situation. So try to see every different possibility or many different possibilities. Don't just make assumptions or don't just jump into things. Make sure you introduce yourself to the person interviewing and say goodbye to the person interviewing, because this also shows how you will be as a student physician. You're not just going to walk into a room and start touching people, right? You're going to say, hi, my name is Faith. It's very nice to meet you. I will be doing this, that, and the third. Just be a person. Like, don't be weird. And if you're on my channel, it's probably because you're weird. Just kidding. Okay, so like if you're on my channel, you might be someone that's searching for like help in like certain scenarios. So if you do have questions, you can leave them below and I will try to answer them in a timely manner. It might not be the fastest because, you know, your girl is trying to get into medical school. Oh, and oh, I was about to put my ring on, but it's not in the box, so I think it's over there. But yeah, I will try to get to your questions as quickly as possible, but I am also planning a wedding, trying to get in med school and running a business. So it might take a little minute, so be patient, but I'm willing to make videos on like anything that might be helpful for the next person to get into medical school. MMIs are cool, dude. If schools do MMIs, don't be nervous. It's kind of similar to the Casper, except you get to talk. If you've taken the Casper, it's like a situational judgment test. Except you have to type in your response, which sucks because your fingers cramped up and you sometimes don't get to write everything you want. But with the MMI, you get to say it, and it's super cool because you're talking. And like some people are like Stonewall, where like you say stuff and they just write it down, or like you say stuff and they're like, and I like the ones that go, because it makes it, you know, it makes it feel like, yeah, like I'm answering that, aren't I? It's just like encouraging. But remember, you got this. You can do this. If your intentions are good and you're willing to work for it, you'll be a great doctor. So no need to stress, no need to sweat it, because you got this. All right? Yeah. Thanks for coming to my channel. See you guys later. Bye.